Zeus, do you want to go to the meetup game? You want to go to the meetup game right now? Okay, let's go. Let's go to the meetup game. Come on. Let's go. We're going to the meetup game.
My wife loaded up Zeus in the back of the car. He was very excited to get to Capital Casino and meet all his fans. I think his biggest fan was Jeff Stimson. He and Zeus really hit it off. Walking into the casino, you can tell that it's going to be a full house. There aren't too many parking spots available. We see a notice of the filming that's going to be going on to give everyone a heads up that their image may be recorded and shown on social media. This is a new renovated bar where we're going to have our after party after the meetup game is over. It's a beautiful room, and we're happy to put it to good use.
This is the start of the meetup game. We've got a big list, crowded casino. It's going to be a fun night.
There was a very big turnout for the daily tournament, and the regular games were going full blast also. So we got off to a little bit of a slow start. We ended up spreading 3 tables in this back section of the casino. We got a 4th later on. We never did have a chance to get our 5th table down. I just sit down in the number 6 seat, and Jeff Stimson's over there in number 8. First hand I get involved in, I look down at 2 queens, a premium holding, and I'm kind of new to the game. I'm not sure about the sizing yet, and I made it 15 to go, and apparently that was way too small because everybody decided, hey, let's play a bomb pot. And call. It was a little bit, uneasy for me to head to a flop with so many players. So we had 8 players to see this flop, and only the small blind was the one that folded. So got to be very cautious on this flop, especially when the board comes all little cards like 6, 5, 4 with 2 clubs. This is a very dangerous board for especially hands like mine, overpair. So it gets checked to me, I check it over, and the player in seat 9 decides that his hand is worth wagering $40. Everybody else surprisingly folded, and it comes back around to me. I'm going, well, he could have flopped 2 pair, he could have flopped a set, he could have flopped a straight, but I am going to be calling. And I also get a call from Jeff Stimson behind. So I'm a little concerned about what Jeff is calling with. Turn card comes as a 10 of hearts, puts up a backdoor flush draw, but really doesn't complete any of the main hands that you'd be concerned about unless they have something like a 10 high flush draw in clubs. They've now made top pair, but we still beat that. The player leads for $150. It looks like he's trying to protect a hand. I'm worried that it might be a straight, but there are a lot of draws out there that I still beat, and I decided to put in the call for the 150. Jeff, on the other hand, decided that he wanted to get out of the way, and so he folds. And the river card comes as a beautiful 10 of spades. So now I beat all his 2 pairs. I beat all his missed flush draws. I check it over to him, and he jams. Now, the type of hands he would be jamming with, of course, the sets and the straights. I mean, he got me crushed. I'm going to be calling off. But he would also probably jam with all his missed draws. Even the hands such as, like, maybe he has pocket 7s or 6-7, or maybe a flush draw with a 7 or an 8. Anyway, I think this is a call in just about any situation. I asked him if he had it. He didn't really react. And I said, well, if you flopped it, you flopped it. I got to call you. And I put in the chip. And he just says, good call. I turned it over. I didn't make him show his hand. He later told me that he had a straight and a flush draw. This is the first of many bomb pots. I'm really not a fan of bomb pots because, I have no idea what anyone has, and it really takes away from my ability to kind of deduce what my opponent's range is because they have no range. So I am extremely cautious when I play bomb pots, and this was no exception. So there's a couple big stacks at the table, and since I have a big stacks, those are the people I concentrate on. Person in the small blind has the biggest stack and has been very active. So I was really focusing on him during this hand, and I watched him look at his cards right after the flop comes, and he perks up in his seat like he really likes it. And so I'm a little bit wary of him right off from the start. He's a very big stack, he's active, and he looks like he's really interested in his hand. He leads out for a small size of $15, which is a little bit surprising with 135 in the pot. And everybody puts in the call, including myself, because I only looked at one card, which was the 3 of spades. I go, well, no matter what, for 15, I'm going to continue. Obviously, I should have looked at the other one, because when I ended up looking back, I had 2 pair, 5s and 3s. And now the person on the button, who is the other big stack at the table, he puts in a raise, and he makes it 95. The person in the small blind calls very quickly. He actually looked like he was considering a re-raise at that point. I'm concerned that he might have a hand like ace-4. I get the sense that he has a very big hand, like either a straight, a set, or maybe a hand like mine, 5-3. Anyway, he puts in the call. The player next to him takes only a second, puts in the call. Player next to him folds. Next player puts in the call. So then the player to my right ends up folding, and I'm sitting there with 2 pair and $600 in this pot. And I'm thinking to myself, this to me is a all-in or fold moment. I can't really let anyone draw cheap to a flush, or maybe they have a hand like 5-4, pocket 6s, pocket 4s. Who knows? This is a very vulnerable hand with the flush draw out there and possibilities of a straight. And not only that, with everyone calling on the flop, I really felt like there might not be any 5s left in the deck. There might not be any 3s left in the deck. And if I went ahead and jammed and ran into someone with ace-4, I'm basically drawing dead. And in my mind, I kept on telling myself, never go bust in a unraised pot. And I was debating between either shoving or folding, and you guys are going to make fun of me, but I ended up folding this hand, and it's just because I had no freaking idea where anybody was at, and there were so many people interested in the pot. Looking back on it, especially when the button ends up folding to a $100 bet on the turn, I started saying, why did I fold this? I really was concerned about him being a big stack, and the other big stack only led $100 on the turn, and I'm going, he doesn't have a straight, he probably has, a big pair, and I'm just going, it was awful. The person who ended up winning the pot, he put in the call for his last $90 on the turn. He is a fairly conservative player, so I'm thinking he has something. But as I said, when the button ended up folding here on the turn, I really hated my fold. I wish I could have took it back and shoved my chips in. I'm sure I'm ahead at this point. And I played like a nit, and it cost me this big old pot. If I jam, I don't know if anyone calls me. I'm sure the person in the 3 seat would have put in the call, because he ended up flopping 2 pair with 5s and deuces, and he had a short stack. If I had a shorter stack, I would have jammed. If the other 2 players that were putting in the bets and the raises that I wasn't concerned about, I would have jammed. It's just I didn't want to go bust on a hand when I didn't think I had any outs left in the deck. Yes, it was shameful. Yes, I'm embarrassed. Yes, I don't gamble enough. Yes. You go ahead, make fun of me. It's okay. I can take it. I really regret letting this one go, and now everyone in the world knows it. All right, we're back to normal poker. Look down at 2 queens, open for a raise. 20, we get a call from Andrew Locke on my left, and 1 player from the small blind. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with 64 in the pot. Flop is pretty good. I mean, it's not the greatest, but it's pretty good. We got an overpair with a heart draw. When it comes 10-5 deuce all hearts, first player checks it over to me. I'm going to continue with most of my range here. So I bet $25. Andrew lets his hand go fairly quickly, and the other player puts in the call. So we're going to be heads up to a turn card. This player is a fairly solid player, doesn't get out of line too much. And when the turn card comes as an ace of diamonds, I'm happy that he checks it to me. This is an easy check back in my opinion. I'm not going to get value from anything unless he has something better than an ace or an ace. So check it back. We see a river card of a 6 of hearts. Makes our flush. I double check to make sure I do have the flush, which I do. He checks to me. I think it's time to go for some thin value. Trying to decide on sizing. I decide on $40. I think that's probably about the max I can get to him. He might look me up light with either a little heart, or maybe he'll do it with just a lone ace. Anyway, he asked me if I got there on the end. I don't give him any response. He puts in the call. I show him the queen of hearts, and he said, nice hand. And so we take this small pot down. The evening's actually coming to a close, and I decided to move over to the table with Eric and Charles at it. And Eric from Fish Poker opens under the gun for $12. I got pocket sixes. Normally I just fold this hand and move on, but since it's Eric and I was near the end of the evening, I decided to mix it up and go for it. So I raised to 35. A very solid regular player puts in the call for the 35. Everyone else folds out, and it comes back to Eric from Fish Poker, and he puts in the call. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. I'm looking for a lot of help on this hand. I'm a little concerned about the player who overcalled the $35. He is a solid player that I have a lot of respect for. Fish, on the other hand, you never know where he's at. Flop comes 7-5-3 rainbow. So excellent flop for a pair of sixes. When Eric checks it, I decide to continue with a C-bet of $40. I think it's important to deny equity from all those overcards. And actually, this hits my hand fairly well, and I can represent overcards fairly decently. Now, the player who is a solid player puts in the quick call for the $40. I'm concerned he has a hand like maybe pocket 8s or 9s, something that he would call a 3-bet open with, but not 4-bet. So I have to be a little cautious of him. Eric ends up thinking for quite some time before he finally puts in the call. I'm thinking he has some sort of big overcards. So we're looking for a little card to come on the turn. And when the turn card comes is a queen of hearts, it's not what I was looking for. And this is where the hand really gets really crazy. Eric decides to bet $1, and he slides out 1 chip. And I'm going, what the heck is this all about? He goes, oh, no, that's not big enough. I'll make it 3. So he puts out a $3 bet. Now, I have no idea what he's doing. This is totally ridiculous, but I wanted to gather a little bit more information. So I decided to raise it to $6. I know this is crazy, but I just want to see what he would do when it came back around to him. If he flat calls it, then I'm thinking he has something more like a flush draw and not a hand like a pair of queens. If he ends up raising it, I'm thinking he has a hand like king, queen, queen, jack, maybe even ace, queen. So I was really curious whether he had a pair or whether he had maybe doing some sort of crazy block bet with a flush draw. So when it gets back to him, he does decide to raise to 50, which is still way too small to protect his hand in this size pot. So I put in the call for the 50, and so does the other player who is a solid regular. Anyway, we go to see a river card. And the river card is a complete and utter blank, other than it makes the backdoor flush. And me knowing that Eric does not have a flush draw, and that he probably has 1 pair like a king, queen, or queen, jack, and he puts out another smaller size bet, this time for $50. In my mind, I'm thinking, Okay, he doesn't have like the nuts because, well, I'm double blocking the 6-4 and he wouldn't be opening up with 6-4 anyway. His most likely range of hands is something like Queen Jack, King Jack, King Queen, Queen Jack, and Ace Queen. And I decided that I'm going to put maximum pressure on him. I go for a raise to $250. The other player folds out rather quickly, and now it's back around to Eric. I think he's going to have a very hard time calling any bet with one pair. I mean, the way this hand went down, I could quite possibly have backdoor a flush. I could possibly have a hand like Ace Queen and have him out kicked if he had King Queen. Who knows? I might even have a set, but mostly I'm trying to represent the flush. It's not the greatest card to represent a flush with, but you know, when you think someone only has one pair, I want to make sure he had the pressure on him. Anyway, he starts talking about using my lucky chip and that I don't think I can fold my set. And I'm going, oh God, he has a set? And he Hollywoods and thinks about it and talks about folding for it seemed like 4 or 5 minutes. Anyway, finally, he's kind of showing me his cards, saying, what do you think, Doug? What do you think? What should I do? Should I call? Should I fold? And I mean, all the other guys at the other end of the table are getting a chuckle out of it because, they can't really tell whether he has a set yet. And, he's showing it to me and thinking. And he was actually streaming this on TikTok at the time. So I don't know what the people on TikTok were saying about it. But I knew he was going to put in the call. He finally puts in the call, and I said, yeah, you're good. I can't beat a set. And he goes, really? A set's good? And then he rolls it over. I'm going, yeah, it's good. And take it on down. This is one of the most interesting hands of the evening, even though it was a small pot. There was a couple people that missed blinds, so we're playing a little short. Charles opens up for 15 from the cutoff. I defend from the small blind with 8-9 suited, and we go heads up to a flop with 31 in the pot. Flop comes 7, ace, 7 with 2 clubs. So I got a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. I check it over to him. He continues for $10, which I expect him to do with the majority of his range. Opening from the cutoff, he can be fairly light in this spot. I put in a small check raise to 25, just seeing if I can grab control of the pot. He thinks for a moment and puts in the call. We get to see a turn card, which is a 8 of diamonds. This definitely improves my hand. I was looking for any card to give me improvement, and I was going to fire again. Was kind of hoping for something like a 6 or a club, but an 8 of diamonds will work. I go ahead and bet $50. Now, I expect him to maybe continue with only his aces, and maybe if he has a flush draw himself, something like King Queen, King Jack clubs, maybe even Queen Jack of clubs, who knows. But I expect most of his other hands to be folded out at this point. He thinks for quite some time, and he is a very good thinking player, and he knows that my check raise on this is kind of suspect, because would I really check raise with a lone ace without a good kicker? And if I had a good kicker, I would probably, 3-bet him. River card comes as a queen of hearts. I check it over, tell him I have a pair of 8s. He rolls over 2 black kings, and he takes this one down. It was a really fun evening. I got to meet and play with some of my favorite vloggers myself. I've been following Charles for a long time, and I'm really impressed with not only his game, but him as a person. I really like that he puts his family first, and he has all the respect in the world for me. And it was a great honor to meet him and play with him. Here's the picture of all of us here. I'll go from left to right. Over in the left, that is Richard. He is not a vlogger himself, but he helps support the vlog community, and he's welcome at any of our meetup games. Then we have Charles from Czech Raise Charles. In the back there is Jeff Stimson. He's from Vegas. Up front is Andrew Locke. He lives in the Bay Area. In the middle there is Think Blue Poker. That's Steve. As you can tell, he's a Dodger fan. Way in the back is Leo from Bearded Poker. He's from Texas. Great to have him come out and meet us. And back up front is Kenichi from King and Poker. He also lives in the Bay Area. Then there's me. I'm the tall guy there. And over to my right is Eric from Fish Poker. he was the big winner of the night. He was very grateful for me trying to bluff him out of a set. Of course, if I knew he had a set, I definitely would have tried it because, man, you can't get a fish to fold anything. Anyway, it was a really fun evening. Everyone seemed to be having a really good time, and I'm really happy that these guys made it out to the meetup game. Here are some images from the game my wife took. This one is with Jeff Stimson meeting Zeus, and here's Eric with Think Blue Poker recording looks like they're going to have some drinking contest. We have some footage of the games. This is over here in the very back in the 8th seat. That's Andrew Locke. And there's and Poker, which is Kenichi. He's in the 8th seat there. There's Fish with Steve from Think Blue standing over his shoulder. And Jeff Stimson was in the table also. He's a great guy. I really enjoy my time talking with Jeff. Anyway, it was a fantastic evening. My only regret is that we didn't get a 5th table down because the casino was just packed. I've never seen it so busy there. And oh my God, look at all my gray hair. Anyway, fun evening, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm really happy with the way things turned out at the meetup game. A big thanks to Capital Casino for hosting the event. They went above and beyond to make sure that the vloggers were taken care of and that we had tables available. They did their very best. It's a smaller club and they were at max capacity for just about all day long. They had a very big turnout for their daily tournaments. The Saturday and Sunday tournaments have been off the hook there. Capital is the only one that is actually running weekend tournaments right now. And so everyone in the Sacramento area who likes to play poker tournaments, that's where they're going. So they had almost 100 players for their Saturday tournament. The Sunday tournament the day after, we had 108 and prize pool of over $9,000 in a $60 buy-in tournament. I mean, you really gotta love it. Anyway, it was a great time. All the vloggers there are not only good poker players and fun to watch, but they're good people. And I really enjoyed meeting everyone. The fans that came out, I thank you very much. I know that some of you traveled some distance to get there, and some of you had to wait longer than you wanted to get into the meetup game. And I'm thankful for you, and I appreciate your patience. And hopefully we can have another meetup game like this sometime in the future. Until I see you next time, thanks for watching. Appreciate your support and good luck at the tables.